Close your eyes and imagine this. The year is 1554, a freezing February morning. A young girl is saying her final prayers within the dark walls of the Tower of London. She is about to be beheaded. She is 16 years old, still in the springtime of her life. But fate had crowned her, then taken it away. Lady Jane Grey did not want to be queen. She never did. All she wanted was to lose herself in her books, learn languages, live a quiet life. But history had written something else for her. 9 days. She reigned for only 9 days. She was queen for 9 days. And then, it was all over. They took her throne, her freedom, her life. But wait, how did this bright young girl come to such a tragic end? Today we will tell you the story of the shortest and most tragic reign in English history. October of 1537, Jane was born in Bradgate Park, Leicestershire. Her father was Henry Grey, Earl of Dorset. Her mother was Frances Brandon, niece of King Henry VIII. So Jane was no ordinary child. She was of royal blood. Blue blood ran through her veins. But fate had written her a curse, not a throne. Her family wanted a son to carry on the inheritance, to continue the line. But daughters were born: Jane, Catherine, Mary, 3 sisters, and Jane was the eldest. Because they had no sons, her father chose a different path. He gave his daughters a princely education, a complete, thorough, rigorous education. Jane was learning Latin at the age of 6, Greek at 8, Hebrew at 10, then came French, Italian, Arabic, 8 languages, 8 different worlds. Jane was in love with books. Far from the noise of the palace, she would spend hours reading in her library. She read Plato, Aristotle, and the Bible in their original languages. She was one of the most educated women of her time. Perhaps she thought that one day she would be able to live her own life, an academic, a writer, a free woman. But in those years, girls had no right to decide their own fate, especially girls from the royal family. This is exactly where I want to ask you, my dear friends. Have you ever had a moment when your dreams were taken away from you? Have you ever been forced to walk a path that others had mapped out for you? Maybe someone you love. Life sometimes pushes people down paths they don't want to take. Write your comments. I would love to read them. King Henry VIII died, the giant of a man, the ruler with 6 wives, one of history's most famous kings. He was gone. And who ascended the throne? A 9-year-old boy, Edward VI, Jane's distant cousin. Edward was a bright child, just like Jane. He was educated, Protestant, idealistic, but he was a sickly child. He had tuberculosis. He grew weaker every day. Everyone at court knew it. This child would not live long. But who held the real power? Edward's Regency Council. And by 1553, the man at the head of the council was John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland. Dudley was clever, greedy, ambitious, and dangerous. He knew politics well. He understood very well how to hold on to power. And he knew one thing: Edward was dying. Maybe a year, maybe a few months left. And if Edward died, what would happen? According to Henry VIII's will, the throne would pass to Edward's sisters in order. First to Mary, then to Elizabeth. But Mary was Catholic, a devout, conservative, fanatical Catholic. If Mary ascended the throne, the Protestant Reformation in England would end, Dudley's power would vanish, and perhaps even his head would roll. Then a diabolical plan came to mind. He must change Edward's will. A Protestant must ascend the throne. But who? The granddaughter of King Henry VIII's sister, Queen Mary Tudor of France, Jane Grey. Young, educated, Protestant Jane. And if Jane became queen, Dudley could marry his son to her. Power would remain in his family forever. A perfect plan, a flawless strategy, and he convinced the young, sick Edward. If Mary ascends the throne, England will revert to Catholicism. All your reforms will be undone. But Jane is Protestant. Jane thinks like you. Leave the throne to her. Edward agreed. He changed his will. He skipped his sisters, Mary and Elizabeth. The crown would go to Jane. May 1553, spring. Flowers were blooming, birds were singing, and Jane's life turned into a nightmare. Dudley summoned her. "Jane, you will marry my son Guildford," he said. Jane was shocked. "But I don't want to marry. I'm only 15, she pleaded. No one listened to her. Her family pressured her. Her mother, her father, Dudley. They all surrounded her. "This is your duty for the honor of your family, for your Protestant faith," they said. And on May 25th, 1553, she married. Her groom, Guildford Dudley, was 17 years old. He was a spoiled, arrogant, selfish boy. Even though he wasn't from the royal family, he acted like a prince. Jane was disgusted when she looked at him, but she had no choice. Even the wedding night was horrible. Jane wasn't happy. Guildford wasn't happy. It wasn't a love match. It was a political agreement. It was a bargain. And Jane was just a pawn in that bargain. But the real shock was yet to come. July 6th, 1553. King Edward VI died. He was 15 years old, a young, bright, idealistic king, gone, and with his last breath, he had left his will. The crown would go to Jane. Jane was at Greenwich Palace when she heard the news. Dudley came to her. "Your Majesty," he said, "the king is dead. You are now Queen of England." Jane froze, then she collapsed to the floor and wept. "No, this can't be. I can't be queen. It's not right. It's not fair. Mary has a right to the throne," she cried. No one listened to her. Dudley, her family's pressure, Guildford's arrogance. They all surrounded her. "This is now your destiny, Jane. The king wanted it this way. You must accept it," they said. Jane was trembling. "If what is given to me is legally mine, I will accept it," she said, because she knew this crown was a tainted crown, an unjust crown. July 10th, 1553. Jane was taken to the Tower of London, but not for the coronation ceremony. Traditionally, new rulers stayed in the Tower before ascending the throne. But for Jane, this tradition had a different meaning. This castle was not a place that protected her, but a place that imprisoned her. She remained on the throne for 9 days. 9 days. She couldn't even have the official coronation ceremony at Westminster Abbey, because the people had risen up outside. Now think about it. Have you ever been forced to take on something you didn't want? A responsibility, a role, a burden, and then everyone started to hate you? Jane's story is exactly that. People were shouting in the streets of London, "Mary, Queen Mary, Mary is our rightful queen." People didn't even know Jane. Who is this girl? Why is she on the throne? Mary is the real queen. And Mary was strong, determined, angry. She gathered an army in Norfolk. Thousands of people joined her. Nobles, soldiers, commoners. They all supported Mary. She marched towards London. Dudley fled in panic. He tried to gather an army, but no one supported him. Guildford trembled with fear. He tried to make Jane king. "Proclaim me king," he said. Jane refused. "You are not king. You can be duke, but never king," she said. This drove the Dudley family mad. "How dare you? We made you queen," they shouted. Jane didn't care. At least she was determined on this point. July 19th, 1553. Mary entered London. The people cheered her. Church bells rang. Victory. And Jane was declared a traitor. Everyone in her council abandoned her. Even her father went to Durham House and knelt before Mary. "I beg your pardon, Your Majesty. My daughter was wrong," he said. Her dream of queenship ended in 9 days. But the real nightmare was just beginning. Jane was imprisoned in the Tower of London, but this time as a prisoner. The cell was cold, dark, damp, stone walls, iron bars. Freedom was gone. Months passed in the cell. Summer came, autumn came, winter came. Jane could hear the outside world, the waves of the Thames, the sound of the wind, the cries of the birds. Freedom was so close, yet so far away. At first, Mary considered forgiving her. After all, they were relatives. They had family ties. And Mary knew. Jane was an innocent pawn. She was Dudley's victim. She was a young girl, but Jane couldn't remain silent. She continued to speak out against Catholicism. She refused to renounce her faith. Mary sent her a priest, Catholic clergyman. "Change your religion, Jane. Save your life. Become Catholic and you will be free," they said. Jane didn't even look at them. She clutched her Bible. "God is my only king. I will not renounce my faith. I would rather die," she said. She engaged in debates, discussed theology, never gave in. Mary was disappointed. What a stubborn girl, she thought. But there was still hope. Perhaps her mind would change over time. And then everything changed. January 1554. Jane's father, her foolish, selfish father, Henry Grey, rebelled. A rebellion led by Sir Thomas Wyatt. To protest Mary's marriage to the Spanish Prince Philip, thousands of people joined, but it failed. The army dispersed. The rebels were captured. Henry Grey was captured. And at that moment, Jane's fate was sealed. Mary would not forgive her, even if she was her cousin, even if she was the daughter of a rebel. Jane was a dangerous symbol. As long as she lived, there could be other rebellions. The decision was made. Execution. February 12th, 1554, Friday morning. It was cold and foggy at the Tower of London. Jane woke up. She knew. Today was the last day. First, they took her husband, Guilford, early in the morning. Jane looked out of her cell window. Guilford was taken to the courtyard, to Tower Hill. The crowd had gathered to watch the execution. The axe fell. Guilford's head was severed. He was 18 years old. The cart passed by Jane's cell. Inside was Guilford's body, his headless body. Drops of blood fell onto the stones. Jane froze. In a few hours, it would be her turn. They came for her in the afternoon. Jane was ready. She wore a black dress, a white ruff. Her hair was gathered up. She held a small prayer book in her hand. Her father, Henry VIII's Latin prayers. She climbed the stairs. She went up to Tower Green. It was a private execution. Not the public, only select witnesses. The crowd watched her. Some were crying, some were watching silently, some were praying. The executioner was there. His axe was ready. The block was ready. It was laid out on straw. Jane stopped. She looked at the crowd. She spoke. Her voice trembled, but she was determined. "Good people, I am dying according to the law. But I made a mistake. I admit it. Pray for me. I accept this physical death with pain, but I offer my soul to God with joy, because I know that He will save me." Then her eyes were blindfolded, a white cloth, and for a moment she panicked. She couldn't see the block. Where is the block?" she asked. She felt around with her hands. She tried to stand up. The executioner came to her side. He took her hand. "This is it, Your Majesty," he said. He helped her kneel down. He led her to the block. Jane laid her head down. She said her last prayer. Her last word was, "Domine, in manus tuas commendo spiritum meum." Lord, I commend my spirit into your hands. The axe rose into the air. The sun reflected off the metal, and it fell. One blow. Quick, clean, decisive. Silence. Jane Grey was 16 years old. She had given her life for a 9-day reign. Her body was buried in a cloth in the ground. Inside the tower, at St. Peter at Vincula Church, there wasn't even a marked grave. Years later, during Queen Victoria's reign, her bones were found during the restoration of the church. A proper grave was then made for her. But Jane's story didn't end there. People remembered her for centuries. The 9-day queen, the tragic young girl, the martyr who died for her faith. Painters painted her. Writers wrote about her. Poets wrote poems for her. Because Jane's story was not just a power struggle, it was the story of a young girl whose childhood was stolen, whose dreams were extinguished, whose life was taken away. Imagine, 16 years old, at the beginning of her life, but she couldn't live it. She couldn't fall in love. She couldn't have children. She couldn't travel the world. She couldn't go to the countries where the languages of the books she read were spoken. It was all taken from her, for politics, for power, for authority. Dear friends, what do you think Jane's story was? A tragedy, an injustice, or both? Why did a girl who should have lived among books die in the midst of the throne and politics? And more importantly, how many people like Jane are there today? How many young people are unable to live their dreams, victims of others' plans? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. Because sometimes history isn't just about kings and wars. It's about people who never gave up their beliefs despite suffering. It's about young people whose childhood was stolen, but who never lost their dignity. And yes, it's about women like Jane Grey, who reigned for 9 days but left an indelible mark on history.